I think there's this common perception that agriculture and environmentalism, conservation are always at loggerheads, but there's a project in the Neusiedlersee National Park that proves that isn't always the case. There, an invasive species called the Ölweide would totally take over the really important grasslands there if it weren't for the cattle that are being grazed on those areas, keeping the area clean. And as Ranger Alois Lang explained to me, this whole problem is because of the aristocrats of 100 or so years ago.
The landowners, the noble families, they wanted to modernize the agriculture, and this is why they built windbreakers for kilometers and kilometers. And for that, they were looking for plants that are growing everywhere. So, for instance,
and they could thrive in this quite salty,
yes, and dry,
landscape.
Yeah, and the problem is that they did not stay there, so they went to all the neighboring grassland areas and fields, and nowadays, not only in the national park but even in the vicinity of the national park, we have the situation that more and more land is left unused. So people are ending their agricultural activities, and you see what happens.
And this is why the cattle, the cows are your allies. They eat this, or the horses eat this, and keep it at least under control.
They eat it, they keep it under control, and even with other plants that cause problems, they keep a pressure on the roots of the young plants. Yeah, even with reeds, so they control the reed also on the water side of this area.
And for us, it's such a unique landscape. This quite open, grassy, steppe-like landscape. It's beautiful for me to see. But why is it important for the ecology of this region?
It's not only here. So wherever you go in, especially in wetlands, if you have open areas without trees and without bushes, then it has a higher biodiversity than it is overgrown. Think about the factor light. So the less light, the less diversity. And here it's open grassland area, and this means that we have more animals that can adapt with that and find the right place for reproduction, food, and resting. And this is why we cannot do successful nature conservation by doing nothing. That doesn't work. On one hand, it's one of the most important stepping stones for migratory birds between the northernmost parts of Europe and Africa. So they have to get through here at least twice a year. And if they have food, and if it's quiet enough, these are the best arguments for them to stop here. So they know where they have the places to, then from there they can continue for the next 500, 600, 800 kilometers to the north. So this is migratory species. And breeding species, they are adapted perfectly to reeds, for instance, to grassland areas, which is cultural landscape here from grazing through many generations. And these shallow sodic ponds that are, in this case, remainings from the lake that have been separated to this natural sand dam here. And on the other hand, they are leftovers from the last ice age, where we assume that big lenses of ice have melted away and left very shallow ponds that are filled with rainwater, like here.